Hey guys, before I get into this video where I'm going to explain how Bill Clinton converted so many Democrats into becoming Republicans and why this is important for every Christian to understand what he did. Before I get into that, I want to address the elephant in the room because, I'm Italian, so I talk with my hands a lot, so you might notice this mark on my arm. So ever since I was in the Navy, I was in the habit of giving blood. I think it's a good thing. I think it's healthy. And I think it helps people. It's a win-win. And, I got out of the Navy in 1989, and I've been giving blood like twice a year. And this is the first time I donated blood, for the hurricane on Monday or Tuesday. I can't even remember. But it was the first time it hurt when they took my blood, and it was the first time I ever got a bruise. And people are telling me this is normal. I don't know. I'm no doctor, so if you're a doctor or a nurse, if you can give your opinion, I won't sue you if if you're wrong. I'm just taking it as your personal opinion. If you can give me some advice. My daughter just took a picture and sent it to her husband, who's working in Poland right now, and he showed it to a bunch of medics he was helping out over there in Poland, and they showed it to the doctor, the army doctor, and he said if it gets bigger or more tender to go to the emergency room. And he asked what medicines I was taking, and I really don't take any medicine regularly. I take an anti-inflammatory called meloxicam, which is like ibuprofen, when my knees start hurting, because I have like no meniscus, but I manage with exercise to usually not have to take it, but lately they've been bothering me, so I've been taking meloxicam. He said that might contribute to it, but... So anyway, that's that. And usually when I walk in, the nurses, they see my veins and they look at me like a vampire, like, "Oh man, you got great veins," and they have no problem. I think this girl might have been new. It was like right before the hurricane. She was the only one in it was one of those buses you go to, and One Blood. And so I'm thinking maybe, she was the lowest on the totem pole, so she had to work the hurricane. I don't know. But she put a tourniquet on and like did things no one else ever did. So I don't know. But so that's that. Now that we got that out of the way. So Bill Clinton, and the reason I'm making this is because Kamala Harris, they're desperate. And like I always say, don't watch what people say. Look what they're doing. Trump was in a blue state yesterday, Colorado. I think today he's going to California. He just rented out Madison Square Garden in New York. A campaign is not going to send their guy into states they can't win unless they are overconfident. And Kamala's bringing the big guns out, Bill Clinton and Obama. And I think this is two mistakes, but they're desperate. They're throwing up a Hail Mary. And I'll tell you, the main thing is Bill Clinton, but real quickly, I'm going to tell you why Obama is probably going to do more harm than good, because they're so out of touch. And the Harris-Walsh campaign is so out of touch. I mean, they picked Walsh because they wanted him to, the Democrats like, okay, we got a problem with working class men. So let's pick the gayest guy we can find. They picked Tim Walsh. Tampon Tim. They picked Tampon Tim. This is how out of touch they are. Then they're like, oh man, we'll do white gays for, they call it white dudes, but they're all like gay dudes. White gays for Harris. Total flop. And then they don't learn their lesson. They just come out with a new video. I posted it on my community board. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Real men, are you man enough to vote for Kamala Harris? Honestly, this should say, are you gay enough to vote for Kamala Harris? Every guy on there seems like he's gay. And, I'm just saying. And, a lot of actors are, so. They're like gay guys trying to act like normal working class guys. So everything they do is complete failure. So like, okay, we got to bring Obama out because they're losing black. I told you, I got a lot of black friends. Not one of them is voting for Harris. Not one black man I know. And I told you last summer, not this past summer, last summer I worked for the ice company. I was slinging ice. And out of 18 men that worked there, I was only the only white guy, including the boss. And they were all not just voting for Trump. They love Trump. They love Trump. My helpers, I was driving, I had a CDL. I drove the CDL truck, but I always had a helper. And they were on TikTok saying, "Oh, Rob, look at this Trump video. Oh, look at this." They were so Trump. So Harris knows she's got this problem. So, let's get Barack Obama. They identify everything by color, and this is what they're missing. Young people, young black men are beyond that. They want to know, they work for a living too. They got to pay groceries too. They got to buy gas too. That pandering Obama did is backfiring majorly. Obama comes out and is like, "I'm going to talk to the brothers." And my friend's like, "Yeah, how often does he ever say brothers?" He has no white neighbors in his $10 million mansion in Martha's Vineyards. He has no white neighbors. This is my black friend telling me this. He has no white neighbors in his $10 million mansion in Hawaii. He's got no black neighbors in his $10 million mansion in Washington, D.C., which oddly enough, that's where he spends most of his time, which usually when presidents, are done with their presidency, they go far away and you don't hear from them. It's quite odd, but that's another video. So Obama came out yesterday telling people, "You're black, you got to vote for Kamala," and don't respect him enough to give him an intelligent argument, about the economy, about foreign affairs. No, you got to vote for her because you're a brother and she's a sister. You basically, because you're black, you got to vote black. How disrespectful is that? And that's how my black friends are taking it. Very disrespectful. So that's an utter failure. Everything they're doing, their wheels are falling off the Harris campaign. Trust me, this may turn out to be a landslide. So then they sent Bill Clinton to the rural. He got the Bubba vote. Yeah, he got the Bubba vote. But then when Bubba realized what he did to him, he lost the Bubba vote. And here we go. And this is the problem, how he converted so many blue-collar guys that were Democrat into Republican. Started out with NAFTA. NAFTA sent millions of American blue-collar jobs to Mexico. Trump got us out of NAFTA. Brought those guys home to the Republican Party. Bill Clinton signed the China World Trade Agreement. Sent millions of jobs to China. Trump got us out of that agreement. Plus, Obama took it to the next level and raised corporate taxes to 35%, which was higher than China's taxes. So if American corporations go to China, they pay less tax to the communists than they would here. Plus all the regulations we had here made it cheaper to just make everything in China. Trump lowered our taxes, lowered in China, lowered in everybody, put corporate tax to 21%. And lo and behold, guess what happened? A lot of these corporations came back to America and 600,000 manufacturing jobs under Trump because of this. So this is another reason. And I'm going to get to the Christian. People are like, "Oh, this is a Catholic station. Why aren't you, why are you talking about this?" I'm going to get to it because politics and religions are always connected. You can't separate the two. Trust me. And I'm going to show you this. So Obama, when he raised taxes at 35%, they said, every economist says when you raise corporate taxes, you actually get less revenue. Just common sense. Just think about that. You're going to have, they're going to be less people want to invest, they're going to go overseas where it's cheaper. And he said, well, it's not about the money, it's about the fairness. Fairness to who? It's not fair to the American worker who's going to get laid off because his job went to China. No, you got to understand. The Democrats think fairness worldwide. They don't put America first. That's why when we say make America first, make America great, they think that's racist. No, they think worldwide. We got to be fair to China. We got to be fair to India. We got to be fair to Mexico. That's why they do it. That's the fairness they're talking about. Because when JFK lowered taxes, we got more revenue. When George W. Bush lowered taxes, we got more revenue. When Ronald Reagan lowered taxes, we got more revenue. And when Trump lowered taxes more than anybody, we got the most revenue ever. So Obama knew, but he was doing it anyway. Because he wanted to make it fair. And even under Bill Clinton, Madeleine Albright, I believe, was his Secretary of State. If I'm not mistaken, she was the first woman Secretary of State. Madeleine Albright, I remember as clear as day seeing her on CNN back in the day, saying she was sorry the Soviet Union fell because we needed two superpowers to keep us in check. Imagine a coach of a football team saying, "Man, I'm sorry Aaron Rodgers hurt his leg because now it's not going to be fair. We're going to win the Super Bowl." And this is what we say. We need a coach that puts America first. This is why people love Trump. Because no other country cares what happens to us. You see any country sending money to the hurricane victims? No. And then on top of Trump getting us out of that horrible Chinese trade agreement, he put tariffs on them. People are like, oh, well, I'm for free trade. I got an old school Republican. Well, Republicans are for free trade. Yeah, we're for free trade, but we're not for getting screwed over. If we send something to China, they charge us 100% tariff. They send it to here, they pay zero taxes, zero tariffs. That was until Trump. Matt, so you're going to charge us 100% for this item, we're going to charge you 100% for this item. You're going to charge us 80% for this item, we're going to charge you. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about, and Biden blasted them for the tariffs, but he kept all the Chinese tariffs on. So there's another reason all these jobs came home to America. Plus, he got rid of so many regulations that made it easier to do business in America. But the one thing that was holding a lot of these corporations to come back to our country and give blue collar guys their jobs back was what they call the, how do you say? I always get screwed up with this word, repatriation of money. So if you made $100 million in China and you come back, you get taxed, like you get whacked hard. So people don't want to bring that back. So Trump said, I tell you what, if you bring it back and you invested in American jobs, invested in America, open up businesses, we won't tax you. But you got to invest it within a year. Again, that brought more blue collar jobs back to America and white collar jobs too. But this is why so many Democrats, working guys like me, I was never a Democrat. I knew they were just communists with smiles on their faces. But a lot of working guys didn't follow the politics, and they just thought Democrats were for the working guys, Republicans are for the rich. And now Trump put a spotlight, flipped it upside down, and you see Hollywood and Wall Street endorsing Kamala and blue collar guys. And I might have you 15 Medal of Honor recipients. So he's got all these generals from the Pentagon that never stepped foot on a combat zone endorsing Kamala. They're part of the military industrial complex, and they're all wealthy because of it. But guys, enlisted guys that actually fought and sacrificed limbs for America, they're the guys endorsing Trump. 15 just today or yesterday. So then another reason a lot of blue collar guys, especially black blue collar guys, is 1994, Joe Biden bragged about his crime bill that he sponsored, and Bill Clinton signed it. And it sent tens of thousands, mass incarceration of young black men for the same crime that young white men were getting a slap on the wrist. And how do these racist Democrats get away with it without people calling them out, their allies in the media covering for them? Because for the same amount of powdered cocaine that mostly white people used, you got a slap on the wrist. But for that same amount of crack cocaine that mostly black guys use, you went to jail, sometimes for life, like literally life if it was a certain amount. And Joe Biden bragged, this is going to send more predators. This is what he called these young black guys. Hillary Clinton called them that, Bill Clinton, they were called predators. This is going to call more drug predators, life in jail, than any other bill. And common sense, Donald Trump seen that and says, this don't make any sense. He got rid of that in the Justice Reform Act, and tens of thousands of young black men got released. And Van Jones, an African-American Democrat, who's a staunch opponent, hates Donald Trump, but had a moment of honesty on CNN and said, Donald Trump did more good for young black men than any president in the last 50 years. So these young black men aren't stupid. They know who released their brothers and fathers and uncles and cousins, and they know who put them away. So this is why they have this problem with young black men. Now, another thing, there were a lot of Christians that thought Bill Clinton was a Christian because when he lost his first, and I'm telling you this in live time. I've been a political nerd following the news my whole life. I've seen this, okay? You can Google it, but I'm telling you what I've seen and what I know. from living it. I'm 59 years old, been following politics since I'm 14, very closely. When Bill Clinton lost, he was governor for 4 years in Arkansas, and then he lost. He joined the largest Baptist church, joined their choir that was on television every Sunday and sung in the choir. Him and Hillary. I don't know if Hillary was there because she was a Methodist, but Bill was there singing in the choir. So everybody assumed this guy's a Baptist. And he is a Baptist, in name. He's a Baptist, just like Biden's a Catholic in name. So a lot of Christians, and, like you hear Trump talk, he's not a Christian. Listen to the way he talks. You heard Clinton talk, man, he knew all the words. He knew, I got saved. I got saved when I was a teenager, and the Lord just showed me the truth, man. And I've been following Jesus ever since. Imperfectly, none of us are perfect. But I've been saved and by the grace of God. Like, he knew all the things to say. And so some Christians thought, okay, I can still be a Democrat. But then when the Congress passed in both houses, bipartisan passed the partial birth abortion ban, where they literally take a third trimester baby and it's too big to get the head out, so they pull the legs out and then they stick a needle into the brain, the most painful, torturous death imaginable to this innocent baby, and suck the brains out and then crush the head and pull it out. They said, this is too barbaric. We got to ban this. And Clinton was going to ban it, but his supporters at Planned Parenthood said, you better not. We're going to lose too much money if you ban this. You better not. And then they sent Gloria Steinem and a couple other feminist leaders, their names escape me, and said, listen, if you, and this is all, you Google this, if you ban the partial birth, if you sign this ban, we're coming at you for all those rapes, all those affairs. And I'm talking rapes. I'm not, everybody knows about his affairs, but there was very credible rape allegations with multiple sources, witnesses, pictures, like brutal rapes. Bill Clinton is a rapist. And they said, we're going to come at you. But if you sign it, we'll call you the feminist president and we'll praise you. So he made a deal. He made a deal with the devil and he vetoed it. The Republicans in Congress overrid the veto, but we couldn't get enough votes. Even though we had some Democrats, we couldn't get enough Democrats to override the veto in the Senate. So that bill stood until George W. Bush signed it. Now, this is why it's important to us Christians, because Kamala Harris wants to sign a bill allowing that, saying no state can restrict that. She promises to sign a federal bill to allow abortion through the 9th month, any way the doctor sees fit, any way the patient sees fit, with no restrictions. And, I always hear from the liberals, well, abortion isn't our number one, abortion isn't the only issue. Well, for Catholics, according to our church, it's the most preeminent, the most important. But if you're a Protestant Christian and you want to say, well, they're all different types of sins we got to look at. Well, poverty is important. And under Donald Trump, because of these trade agreements, he lifted more people out of poverty than anyone in the history of America. 7 million people were lifted out of poverty. Statistically, 7 million people. Black unemployment was the lowest ever. Black entrepreneurship was the highest ever. Black homeownership was the highest ever. So it's important that you know the facts. And don't just go by the rhetoric, how people talk. I don't like his personality. He's mean. Look at his policy. His policy saves lives. Saves poor children's lives. Saves unborn children's lives. And look at the wars. Look at the wars. Look at the wars. Obama let Putin take Crimea, and he wouldn't give the Ukraine people the Javelin missiles they asked for. Instead, he sent them blankets and MREs. When Trump became president, he sent the weapons, Javelins, sent 1,000 Green Berets to train their forces. This is why the Ukraine fighter is superior to the Russian fighter. Today, if you notice that on the battlefield, and he told Putin, don't even think about going to Ukraine. And Putin didn't even think about going to Ukraine. But then as soon as he was gone, what's he do? He's like, well, I got 4 years to take it with this weak president who makes money off the military-industrial complex, so he'll keep this war going. So right after he invaded, like 30 days later, Zelensky and Putin had an agreement, and Boris Johnson said he was told by Joe Biden to tell Zelensky to rip up that agreement. We don't want a peace agreement. We want regime change. We're not going to end this war until Putin is gone. And since then, over 1 million lives have been killed because Joe Biden and the military-industrial complex are making millions. And there's no doubt Donald Trump will get an agreement. He'll tell Zelensky, sign that agreement again, and the killing will stop. The killing will stop. So there's so much more I can say. There's so many other issues where the bureaucracy is just feeding. The swamp is just feeding on companies going to China, on war, on the health of our children. You know, Robert Kennedy said he endorsed Trump because Trump wants to really do something to help America, make America healthy again. We spend way more money. Americans spend way more money than any other country, and we're the most unhealthiest of any other country. Maybe, just maybe, it's because Fauci hasn't been a doctor in 50 years, hasn't practiced medicine, but he was in charge of all our medical, and he's made millions of dollars on patents that he approved from the drug companies. Maybe there's something wrong about every single FDA commissioner, when he retires, becomes a president of a pharmaceutical company, a CEO, making millions, every one of them, bar none. Maybe there's something wrong there. Maybe this is why former FDA Commissioner Lay, I forget his first name, but his last name is Ley. Lay, Commissioner Lay, said the American people have no idea what the FDA does. The FDA does exactly opposite what the American people think. It's a difference as night and day. The American people think the FDA are there to protect them, but in reality, the FDA is there to protect the pharmaceutical companies, and 90% of the funding for the FDA comes from pharmaceutical companies. And this is why Donald Trump's going to put Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a lifelong Democrat, in charge of getting rid of the swamp in our medical and finally doing something to make our kids healthier so our kids don't turn into type 2 diabetics by the time they're 10. This was unheard of in our country until recent times, and now it's normal. The corruption in Washington is evil. And Trump is not a perfect man. Trump is a sinner just like me and you. Trump's got a lot of things that he does wrong. But whatever his motive, maybe it's his pride and his ego, whatever is motivating him, he's motivated to make America great again, make America healthy again, and putting America first again. So I'm telling you, if you are a Christian, it is your obligation and your duty to vote for Donald J. Trump. And vote early, because you never know with the weather. God bless, and stay Catholic.